But I'll tell you the meaning of all this. The meaning of some bird showing up and some boy disappearing and you knowing all about it. The meaning of this was not to save you, but to warn you instead. To warn you of confusion and delusion and assumption, to warn you of psychics and zombies and ghosts of your lost brother, to warn you of Ada Taylor and her sympathy and mothers who wake you up with vacuums, to warn you of 2-foot-tall birds that say they can help but never do. This is a quote from the end of John Corey Whaley's novel Where Things Come Back. The novel follows 17-year-old Colin Witter during the summer of two very strange events. The first is the disappearance of his 15-year-old brother Gabriel, and the second is the so-called reappearance of a thought-to-be-extinct Lazarus woodpecker. The small town of Lily, Arkansas goes into a woodpecker frenzy at the exciting news, while Colin struggles to cope with his brother's disappearance and find meaning in himself. My metaphorical construct is that the Lazarus bird is like a pyramid scheme. Quote Investopia.com, a pyramid scheme is an illegal investment scam based on a hierarchical setup. New recruits make up the base of the pyramid and provide the funding, or so-called returns, the earlier recruits above them receive. For a personal example, the company Vemma swept through many college campuses and high schools a few years back. The business calls itself a healthy nutrition company that recruits independent distributors to market their products. To become a distributor, you must pay in, as well as recruit an additional minimum of 2 distributors per month. Sound like a pyramid scheme yet? A good friend of mine in high school paid in nearly $800 for fees and products, with a promise of making anywhere from $100 to $5,000 a month. While she managed to sell a few of her products here and there, she struggled to recruit people and therefore never made any profit. Unfortunately, she was one of many victims of the scam. To understand my metaphor in relation to the Lazarus bird and Where Things Come Back, I will break it down into parts. In this metaphor, the scheme is like the Lazarus bird. The bird has been extinct since the 1940s, but supposedly is spotted in the small town of Lily, Arkansas. The bird's possible appearance creates a huge hype within the town who goes crazy over the bird. But like all pyramid schemes, the idea of a bird reviving from extinction in Lily is just too good to be true. The false promise of wealth is like the false hope the citizens of Lily experience. Many get swept up in the craze and truly believe the bird has come back. This is much like the false promise of getting rich quick that pyramid schemes are built on. Pyramid schemes are always started by an individual or company who profits the most from the operation. In this case, the profiting head is like John Barling, the man who claims to have first seen the Lazarus bird. Barling is the man who incites all the madness in Lily with his claims. While there is no mention of Barling profiting monetarily from the woodpecker madness, he does, however, become famous in the town for his claims. Barling is frequently interviewed and practically considered a town hero while he searches for more evidence of the bird. Quote the site How Stuff Works. Eventually, there won't be enough recruits at the bottom of the pyramid to support the level above it. That's when the pyramid topples and everyone at the bottom loses their investment. Therefore, pyramid schemes are inevitably unsustainable, and because they're illegal, often end with the profiting head behind bars. A famous example is Charles Ponzi, who served jail time for his investment scam. In this case, the inevitable downfall of the pyramid scheme is like the final revelation that the Lazarus bird is not real. The bird Barling claimed to have seen may have just been a regular woodpecker all along. Though he isn't jailed, Barling leaves the town quickly in shame. How does this all connect to our protagonist Colin? In this case, the wise bystander is Colin. He sees right through the ruse and doesn't get swept up in the woodpecker madness like the rest of the town. He says in the novel, "I'm tired of seeing posters for that bird in the place of posters for my brother. I'm tired of reading articles about the bird instead of ones about my brother. I'm tired of hearing John Barling's voice on the radio and seeing his face on TV when he is talking about that bird instead of talking about my brother." Colin doesn't fall for the scheme, and only wishes the town would realize the farce and focus on more important things like finding his brother. Both pyramid schemes and Where Things Come Back can be analyzed with a Marxist lens. The Marxist or class lens looks at who has the power in the situation and what assumptions are made based on power. In a pyramid scheme, it is clear that the higher up on the pyramid, the more power. The head of the pyramid gets the most profit and least potential for lost investment from the situation. For John Barling, he has the most power and least liability. He comes to the town unknown and becomes a celebrity, but can slip away from the situation when it turns sour and return home with few knowing about the scandal. The text does reinforce the idea that the creator of the scam holds the most power in this situation. The text could have pushed back on this idea if there had been some real consequences for what John Barling did, but unfortunately there are not. As you can see from my breakdown and explanations, the Lazarus bird and where things come back is a lot like a pyramid scheme.